I'm going to tell you something that I know you've heard before, and that is if you fail to plan, you are in essence planning to fail. I'm sure most of us have heard that, and I'm also pretty certain that many of us do feel like we're planning. The problem is there are two critical steps before you go into the planning stage, and there's a step after that I really want to share with you so that you can avoid as much as is possible any kind of failure when you've got something you really want to accomplish. Hi, I'm Lorna Rasmussen, and I'm speaking to you from my office here in Costa Rica. It's really interesting that I'm talking about this because until I learned this process and this technique, and I have to admit I sometimes still do this, I was the type of person who just jumped into something. I started in the film business with no background, no skills. I just jumped in and started doing it and learned as I went. Fortunately, I'm pretty fast on my feet. However, what I've come to realize is this: without these two steps, these two initial steps, we oftentimes make decisions or start down a path that are doomed to failure. What are those two steps? Well, I'm going to give them to you briefly here, but I'm going to go into them in depth in an upcoming challenge that I'm doing. It's called Map to Your Success in Business and Life. So it's, in essence, what we're going to do is we're going to build a roadmap so that you can do these very important first steps and go into the planning process, excuse me, and go into the planning process and be successful. So what are the two steps? The first step is knowing where you are right now, knowing what the lay of the land is. Who are you? What in your life has to be juggled, and what is important to you? So the first part of that knowing where you are now, without knowing it, this is what happened to me. I actually had a goal to have a job, to get a job. And it was the only job in this little town I was living in that I wanted, only job I'd be interested in. I never went through this initial step. So even though I had this goal, had this dream, when it was offered to me, I realized I can't do that because of the circumstances of my life at the time. And had I looked at my life and really understood the second part, which is what was most important to me in my life, were the critical factors that I had to take into I had to be aware of and take into consideration as I put that plan together, I would not have even spent a minute thinking about this job. But what if you're building a business and you get yourself into the middle of building that business and then you make that have that realization? It's not a pretty picture. It is where you are basically doomed to fail. So once you've got those two components and a few other things that are part of really basically the goal setting process, and we'll go through each of these in time, and then you put a plan together. That plan is probably going to take you to the success that you're looking for. But there's one final step. And that final step at the end, when you've got the plan together and you see the flow of work and you see what's involved, you ask yourself, is it worth the time, effort, and money for me to do this? In other words, you really check yourself. And in checking yourself, you give yourself permission, if it isn't the right thing for you to do, to say, no, it's not right, or not now. And that's what would have happened with that job. Had I waited a few years, I probably could have taken the job. Maybe I could have, even knowing those things in advance, I may have been able to go to the person who was offering me the job and say, let me work out something so I work with you part-time or something. There might have been a way around my getting that dream job. But also in business, there may be ways for you to do part of what you want to do, but not the whole thing. But what I'm suggesting to you, that without planning it out, without really seeing it in black and white on paper or on the computer screen, you may make decisions that you will later regret. So here I am in Costa Rica, wishing you pura vida which simply means a beautiful life. And I also wish you a life where you have a business that really makes money, but also makes you happy and gives you joy. And make sure you subscribe so that you get more of these videos. We are about to go into some very exciting information to help you be successful. Bye.